It's a city jail complex so notorious, it's been making headlines for all the wrong reasons.
What are some words you'd use to describe Rikers Island?
Hell. Plain and simple, hell.
Prisons are undoubtedly some of the most violent places in the world. A violent atmosphere seems inevitable with the world's most dangerous criminals together in one place. Today we bring you 10 of the most dangerous prisons in the world and explain precisely what makes them so unsafe. Number 10. La Modelo, Colombia. La Modelo Prison consists of two wings. The north wing holds left-wing rebels, and the south holds right-wing government supporters. On April 27, 2000, over 100 lives were lost due to a fight. After the incident, the government began to change the prison regime. Ironically, the prison staff does not carry weapons inside the prison, even though the inmates can access various weapons. Outnumbered 13-1, the guards have very little control over inmates inside the prison. Only 2 guards are assigned to each section during the day and 1 during the night. They reportedly cannot even enter places like Patio 2 without permission from the estimated 150 inmates who control the cell block. In March of 2020, a riot broke out within the prison due to fear of COVID-19 spreading among inmates. That riot took 23 lives and left 83 injured. Inmates across the country have been protesting overcrowding and poor health services ever since the outbreak of COVID-19. This prison is different from others as they don't separate the inmates. Paramilitaries, corrupt cops, drug traffickers, ordinary inmates, and dealers share the same cells and courtyards. With the amount of violence, weapons, and criminals, it's no surprise that this prison is so dangerous. Number 9. Tadmor Prison, Syria. Tadmor Prison was home to thousands of political and criminal Syrian inmates in the barren desert of Syria during the 1980s. In addition to brutality, Tadmor was also notorious for its extreme climate conditions. Without warning or motive, inmates faced brutal suffering that regularly resulted in their deaths. To receive confessions during interrogations, inmates faced punishment from guards using various objects. According to a Palestinian writer who spent 2 years there, it's utterly unfair to call it prison. In prison you have basic rights, but in Tadmor you have nothing. You're only left with fear and horror. Suspected Islamic inmates faced the harshest treatment possible. They were so horrible that they couldn't mention it in this video. Eye contact in this prison was strictly forbidden. Inmates were not allowed to raise their heads, look up, or look at each other. In an attempt to stand up against the horrible treatment they received, the inmates came together to form their version of a democracy, a behavior uncommon for most inmates. Military officers were innovative in finding new methods to humiliate inmates. They resorted to strange and revolting forms of torture, sometimes just out of boredom. Once a guard ordered an inmate to move about 100 pairs of slippers using only his mouth. Each morning, guards would select an inmate to rat out 10 others that hadn't slept on their side at the correct position. The prisoner refused to give names, and they would punish him. And then 10 other men received the same punishments if they, too, didn't supply names. Overall, the harsh conditions and extensive human rights abuse that inmates faced makes this prison so dangerous. In June of 1980, a massacre occurred in the prison as soldiers stormed the cells and took the lives of 500 to 800 inmates in just a few minutes. After numerous reports of brutality and torture, the prison was shut down in 2001. Number 8. ADX Florence, USA. ADX Florence is an American federal prison in Fremont County near Florence, Colorado. Prison was created after brutal incidents occurred at other federal prisons. The government needed higher-level security prisons to house the most dangerous and notable criminals in the United States. The facility has a total capacity of 551 inmates and a population of 322 inmates, such as criminal leaders of various violent gangs and domestic and international terrorists from influential organizations like Al-Qaeda. This supermax prison is known for its harsh conditions, with inmates in solitary confinement for 23 hours a day. The hour that they are allowed out is into a larger cell with vaulted ceilings called the empty swimming pool. This room has a 4-inch by 4-foot skylight that was the only window to prevent the inmates from knowing where they are, so it's virtually impossible to plan an escape. Most inmate contact occurs through a slot door, such as meals and healthcare, instead of being taken into infirmary or having a corrections officer open the door to bring in the food tray. Not only drastically reduces the inmate's chances of escaping, but also reduces possible injuries to corrections officers and nurses. There's no contact between the inmates whatsoever. Even though the diagram shows inmate beds side by side, the concrete construction of the prison prevents them from talking to each other through the wall or even tapping on it in Morse code. The sink and shower have special drains constructed to prevent any kind of feedback, so they can't talk to each other through the pipes. All these efforts prevent inmates from planning any escape. The prison has a multitude of motion detectors and cameras, 1,400 remote-controlled steel doors, and 12-foot-high razor wire fences. As an added level of security, laser beams, pressure pads, and attack dogs guard the area surrounding the prison's outlying fences. Conditions are harsh but considered fair given these inmates' crimes. The prison operates under the strategy of sensory deprivation and solitude. Inmates are left to their thoughts, often leading to hallucinations, memory loss, and increasingly irritable behavior. Despite the extreme security measures to deter disruptive, violent, and dangerous behavior among inmates, there still have been deaths at ADX, making this place so dangerous. Number 7. La Santé Prison, France.